Breaking news, middle-aged man unable to utilize a search engine to find activities to do in a metropolitan area when he is visiting. We're going to talk about that middle-aged man, LeBron James. Once again, somebody hating on Memphis for no good reason. We'll talk about that and more. Stick around on Locked On Grizzlies.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Grizzlies. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mullinax, joined by my co-host, Damichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. And you know that it is Friday. We have got to get down on Friday. As the wise philosopher Rebecca Black once said, fun. Looking forward to the weekend, a holiday weekend for those that celebrate the Easter holiday. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts as proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Throw your ones up. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube, wherever you get a podcast. Michael, thank you so much for doing the last couple of shows solo with me on my nice little spring break trip with the fam. It was lovely in the land of Mac McClung, that is Gate City, Virginia. We had a great time. Didn't see Mac. I'm sure he's playing basketball, doing his thing. But, you know, they're very high on Mac McClung in Gate City, Virginia, where Mac is from. Somebody who is not high on Memphis, Tennessee, apparently, is one LeBron James. This is the latest in a line of prominent NBA figures, Draymond Green being one. Obviously now LeBron talking about how Memphis has nothing to do, wants the Grizzlies to move to Nashville. He's a big Nashville guy, apparently. And Damichael, obviously you're a native Memphian. I know you kind of take this personally, as well you should. I am not a native Memphian, but I take it personally as someone that lived there for years, still keep the city near and dear to my heart. I really struggle with these people that don't spend enough time in the city to fully grasp what makes Memphis special. If you are looking at it through the superficial amenities, and in fairness to Draymond Green, he kind of acknowledged that, right? Talking about like cold tubs and hot tubs and all these sorts of things. If you want to judge Memphis for that in the general space around FedEx Forum, I think that's a fair point to make if that's the only glimpse of the city that you're getting, which is what a lot of these guys coming from elsewhere are getting when they come to Memphis. They literally stay at the hotel near the arena, and then they have the game, shoot around, whatever it is they do. They may not see the grander scope and scale of what you and I, especially you being from there, of course, what you and I know Memphis to be, which is a pretty special place to live and work. Certainly not without its flaws, but I'm getting tired of hearing these people not be able to do a basic search of fun things to do in Memphis, Tennessee. There's a bunch of fun things. Has LeBron James never heard of the Memphis Zoo? One of the best zoos in America? Has LeBron James never heard of all of the beautiful space, like Shelby Farms, I believe it's called, if I remember correctly? The wonderful, that's just what, a hop, skip, and a jump down.
There you go, Joe.
I remember these things. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to do around Memphis. I don't get why people have this hate in their heart for the city of Memphis.
I think it's less hate for Memphis and more hate for the hotels. I think if you've listened to Anthony Edwards, I believe it was Derek White, LeBron James, Draymond Green, all these players who have kind of expressed their dissatisfaction with Memphis in some way, shape, or form, it always starts with the hotel. I think Derek White was like, hey, the food's good, though, but, the hotel is, I guess, subpar to what they're used to. And the facts are the facts. And the facts are these players, when they go to these other cities, for the most part, they're staying in 5-star hotels. Memphis doesn't have a 5-star hotel. So you're staying in a 4-star hotel in Memphis. And, and that's where these guys, I guess, discuss or whatever.
Michael, you know what this is? Sorry to interrupt you. You know what I'm doing right now? If you're watching on YouTube, what am I doing right now?
What's that, Joe?
I'm playing the world's smallest violin for these multi-millionaires.
You ain't crying about the
4-star hotel. Oh no, not a 4-star hotel. Oh my God. How could they possibly endure without a hot tub or a
must be hard to lay in those, huh?
Oh my gosh. I goodness gracious. It must just be pure torture to stay in a 4-star hotel.
Now I got to cook real quick, Joe. Now that I got that part out of the way, now I got to get cooked. I got to cook. I'm not getting cooked. LeBron's about to get cooked because LeBron's lost the plot. Excuse me. LeBron James has lost the plot. LeBron James was the 18-year-old who came from a single parent, and it was just them, who's the kid from Akron, as he proclaims himself.
I was about to say scenic Akron, Ohio.
Yeah. The guy who played, at St. Vincent St. Mary's with his friends when he could have went and played at all these other different schools. The guy who, when he came back to Cleveland and won that championship, Akron's about, I think, 30, 40 minutes from Cleveland. But when he won that championship, had tears in his eyes. Cleveland, this is for you. I thought LeBron was the player who gets it. He knows what the Cleveland Cavaliers mean to that area. He knows what being a player in the basketball community of an area like that could mean from a financial standpoint, from a growth standpoint. He has seen it firsthand. Cleveland is hosting all-star games now. But somewhere along the line, he lost the plot. And it's disappointing because, he's not from Memphis, so of course he doesn't have the same, affinity for Memphis as he does for, that area. But I remember Joakim Noah, what was that, 2010, 2011, when they were playing Cleveland, and he's like, dissing Cleveland. Like, no one's ever said, hey, I'm going on a trip to Cleveland and things like that. Like, the things that are kind of being said about Memphis in a way, some jokes have been made about Cleveland. LeBron should be one of the players in the league who has a better understanding of the Grizzlies and the need for a team like Memphis, instead of saying, oh, they should just move to Nashville. And then when it really was clear to me that he lost the plot, was he started naming the things that Nashville had. And it became clear to me, because you're naming things that Nashville have. The Grizzlies, Memphis doesn't have those things. He started talking about NASCAR. He started talking about, don't they have a hockey team? Vanderbilt. Memphis doesn't have those things. Memphis, you got the University of Memphis, but the Grizzlies are pretty much, the four major sports. They're the only pro team here. There's no NHL team. There's no NFL team. There's no MLB team. You got AAA, but there's no MLB team here. It's disappointing to see LeBron, a black man who, to a different degree, came from an area, from a situation where he saw basketball as a way out, and he understands how basketball can contribute to the growth of a city, to a growth of a community. Memphis is we're still in the process of that. Right now, it's the 25-year anniversary of the Grizzlies being in Memphis. The Grizzlies are only 25 years old in Memphis. Cleveland has had a team for way longer. And you see how long it took the Cavs finally to get through and pretty much the Cavs were a laughingstock before LeBron got there. The Cavs were a laughingstock. So it just baffled me that of all these players, have said their little tidbits or whatever, like LeBron, who, he said recently that he doesn't have the interest in ownership, but he's previously declared an interest in ownership, which would lead me to believe that through that interest in ownership, he's, become more knowledgeable and understanding of how, that process works. And going to a city like Memphis and providing, like Memphis is a hoop city. Like for years when the Grizzlies weren't making the playoffs, or even during the grit and grind era, you would look up and see the top markets in the NBA finals every year, and Memphis would be in the top 10. Little old Memphis, right? Little old small market Memphis in the top 10 every single year. That's where I am. There are so many more layers and different routes we could go with this. Like, you can acknowledge that Memphis needs growth. I'm not dumb. I lived here for the majority of my life. I grew up here. I've seen crazy stuff here, but I've seen a lot of positive things. I've seen a lot of people come from this city and make a lot of things of themselves. And why would you want to move the Grizzlies, something that is clearly having a positive impact on the city, on the community, and move it to Nashville? They got the Titans. They got the Preds. we're losing the plot. And it baffled me to hear LeBron James of all people say, "Oh, get the team out of that city." Why would LeBron say that?
I refuse to believe that Nashville, the bachelorette party capital of the world, would support a National Basketball Association franchise.
Wouldn't even be a fit, man. Like I know people in Nashville want it. It's not a fit, Joe. Like,
I agree completely. And again, you spoke to the racial aspect of it. Memphis being one of the most per capita, most African-American citizens or representation in the city of anywhere in the United States, especially when you compare it, like a place like New York or Chicago, maybe there's more, overall population, but in terms of the actual size of the city, per capita, it's one of the blackest places in America. Yeah. And it's an amazing community, regardless of the racial aspect. And again, as a white man, that's easy for me to say. I just am taken aback when people they're not educated on it, right? It's an ignorant statement. And I agree.
You're not contributing to the growth of the city.
Correct.
By trying to take away the Grizzlies.
But it's frustrating. I think you put it really well, partner. It's frustrating when someone that should know better doesn't.
Out of all the players,
out of everybody that has been, LeBron has become like Hollywood Hulk Hogan, right? He's Hollywood LeBron James now. And it's like he's lost, like you said, he lost the plot. He's lost what he's seen, what the point of this is. And I like I said, from my perspective, because I can't speak to the other side, of course, I refuse to see how Nashville supports an NBA team better than Memphis, Tennessee. Aside from the bare bones,
they'll get the money support.
Yeah,
they'll get the money support.
There's more money there. There might be better hotels.
They got 5-star hotels, right?
Now, could Nashville support an NBA All-Star game better than Memphis, Tennessee? 100%. 100%. That is a factual statement. I refuse to believe that an 82 game, which means a 41 game NBA season there at Bridgestone Arena, I believe is the name of the building.
Yeah.
No way that city supports the Memphis Grizzlies. And you can't compare it to the last couple of years when the team has been down. That's not fair. That Memphis is a place where people work their tails off for the money that they make, and they're not going to spend it on a product that they don't believe in. They're not going to spend it on a product that's not winning. You can see it in the Memphis Tigers. You grew up in that community. The Memphis Tigers only averaging, 6,000 people per game?
Yeah.
With Penny Hardaway as the head coach?
A little bit, yeah.
Like, that is a complete and total galaxy brain moment for that athletic department. But that's the reality of Memphis. Once the Grizzlies are winning again, whether John Morant is there or not, you know that market better than me. I know it pretty well. There's going to be 18,000 people in that building again once they start winning again. People, they don't have the disposable income in Memphis to support something that they don't believe in or they don't see the vision for. And that, to me, is the difference in the here and now. Hit us up on X, at Joe Mullinax, at Damichael C. Let us know in the comments. We can continue having this conversation. Damichael, I thought you put it really well there, especially coming from.
I really got a lot more to say, but yeah.
I know you do. Well, we have an off season coming up. We can definitely come back to this. Thankfully, there's an off season coming up. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, Damichael has an update for us on the Brandon Clarke situation. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is here. It's almost Final Four time, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to final cut down. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's the best part. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want with game picks, futures, or even same game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It is perfect for the tournament because every day there is something new, different matchups, new storylines, and new ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So go visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action today. Remember, we have the Everydayer Club here at Locked On Grizzlies. Make sure that you are signing up. You can unlock ad-free episodes and entry into our private listener group chat. We're hanging out there daily, especially as we close out the regular season, start thinking off-season, getting into the NBA draft lottery. Click on the link in the show notes or go to lockedongrizzlies.supercast.com to claim your time with us as part of the Everydayer Club. All right, Damichael, you have been following this Brandon Clarke story. We texted a little bit about it while I was out on my couple days off for my family trip.
Mm-hmm.
You had a great update over at the Commercial Appeal. What is the latest with what is going on with Brandon Clarke and the saga that has been his last 24 or 48 hours?
Yeah, there's a lot more to unpack as we've kind of uncovered the details of, what it was that he had, more information on the charges and that entire situation. So the first thing is he posted a bail. Bail was set at $25,000. Brandon Clarke was bailed out. Well, he bonded out around, I believe it was 12:27 p.m. Local time. So he got out early afternoon on April 2nd, on yesterday. So he spent, a little close to 24 hours. He was being held for a little bit close to 24 hours. But again, we heard about, the possession, the trafficking, controlled substance, the fleeing, in a vehicle while driving over the speed limit, and improper passing. Those were the charges that were initially put out. And now, the documents and the information contained by the Commercial Appeal kind of revealed some more information there. Just one of the things that was said here. Here's some of the story. Go read the story over at the Commercial Appeal. But it says, according to the police affidavit, a deputy was conducting a traffic stop when a white Corvette passed by him. The deputy said he heard the sound of the Corvette rapidly accelerating to a higher rate of speed. That deputy then began following the Corvette in an attempt to make a traffic stop. But basically, after that, there was a chase. The Corvette, which is Brandon Clarke, began weaving through traffic and passing other vehicles in a no passing zone. At this point, they said that Brandon Clarke was driving well over 100 miles per hour. There was a chase for a little while, and then the Corvette slowed down after a vehicle in front of it slowed down, and at that point, the chase ended. Brandon Clarke was put behind in the back of the patrol vehicle in handcuffs. And that's when they found, it's called kratom. I believe it was over 200 grams of, this was the controlled substance that people were speaking of. It's called kratom. I'd never heard of it, Joe, before this.
And it's something that, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't live in Tennessee. I was there briefly, there in Johnson City on my little trip that I just did. Different side. Another side.
I remember this side.
NBA team. Closer to Knoxville.
Yep.
But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this kratom is legal in Tennessee, but it is not in Arkansas.
That's what in the affidavit it said, that Mr. Clarke stated that the stuff is legal. So to his understanding, it was legal. And then he was asked what was in it. He told them that it was kratom, and then they investigated, and it's a Scheduled 1 controlled substance in Arkansas. So it's legal in Tennessee. It's a Schedule 1 controlled substance in Arkansas. Deputies also said that they had a THC vape pen, and it confirmed that the liquid in it, was, marijuana in the vape pen as well. So I think to explain kind of, the kratom thing a little bit, here's kind of the understanding that we put in the story. It said kratom is a herbal extract from a tree that grows in Southeast Asia. At low doses, Mayo Clinic said that it acts as a stimulant. At higher doses, it has been reported to reduce pain and anxiety. And we know, not to kind of, project what he was using it for, but we do know as a fact, Brandon Clarke has been dealing with injuries, over the last couple of years, and he's got a calf strain right now that sidelined him for the rest of the season. So that's pretty much the skinny, I guess you could say, on that situation. There's more descriptive details over in the Commercial Appeal of the whole breakdown of the situation, but it's a Schedule 1 substance. Joe, with that information being said, I think this isn't something that's going to, at first people were wondering, like, is jail time or anything like that at risk? I don't think that's the case here. Again, the speeding probably was a little concerning or whatever, fleeing over 100 miles per hour or whatever. But yeah, I think that's the extent of it. He'll probably get a slap on the wrist with, some little fines or community service work or whatever the case may be, or whatever they decide. But I think that's pretty much the latest we have on the situation right there.
After the season we've gone through, partner, maybe we need to do a little bit more research into this kratom if it's anxiety relieving. I don't want to get in trouble with our bosses here, but it's been a long season for the Memphis Grizzlies. I haven't smoked anything in my life except barbecue, but I do think that you've talked about this a lot. And again, this is something that we can definitely revisit as the offseason approaches. So often Ja Morant is kind of the topic of, has he played his last game in Memphis? Has he played his last game in Memphis? Yeah. Brandon Clarke needs to be part of that conversation too. And I know you've talked about it on one of your solo shows recently.
Yeah, I talked about it yesterday. Mm-hmm.
I think that, that's something we can revisit. Maybe some ways that can be explored with the contract and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's up your alley right there. Uh-huh.
And I love BC. Shout out modern medicine, all that sort of stuff.
Medicine. Mm-hmm.
When Brandon Clarke was drafted by this team in the 2019 draft, we had a draft party. I was still running Grizzly.
That was your guy, yeah.
Yeah, and we were fired up because in that draft I had Zion, Ja, RJ Barrett, and number 4 on my board was Brandon Clarke. And the fact that he fell to where he did and the Grizzlies were able to take him, I was overjoyed. And I think he's had a good NBA career that has just been derailed by injuries. Yeah. Obviously now, whatever this is going to amount to. It's a real question, whether or not we see Brandon Clarke in a Memphis Grizzlies uniform again. And like I said, I know you've talked about that a good bit. Maybe we can talk about the mechanism of that once the offseason hits for the Grizzlies here in the next 10 days or so, thankfully, mercifully. Yeah. Let us know in the comments at Damichael C, at Joe Mullinax on X, how you're feeling about the BC situation. And kudos to Damichael on his great reporting over at the Commercial Appeal. If you're not already subscribed, you should be. Damichael is the best in the business covering the Memphis Grizzlies. And those of you that follow his work, you already know that to be true. Those of you that got April Fools by him a couple of days ago, I saw that. You were very concerned. Which on one hand, I support that concern because I too, I feel like I've made my love for Damichael Cole very clear. But on the other hand, on a very small personal level, I was like, like the 50 Cent meme, right? Why are you so? I would still be here,
Oh man, yeah. They say the show would go on, bro. Show would go on,
man. And somebody shouted out the dynamic duo, which I appreciate. That is the way to go. But yes, I would be very sad if Damichael was leaving as well. He's the best in Memphis at what he does. Lots of
I'm not going anywhere. Just
well, no, I'm biased. I'm allowed to say it. Damichael is not saying that. I am saying it. When we come back, we're actually going to talk about basketball, believe it or not. The Grizzlies have a busy weekend ahead of them this Easter weekend. We're going to talk about it next here on Locked On Grizzlies. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part has not always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. You can pull up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming NBA game, and have tickets locked in within minutes. You can have all-in upfront pricing, no surprise fees at checkout, and you can see the view from your seat before buying your tickets. It makes the decision that much easier. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from the beginning to the end. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it is gametime.co, not .com. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies also brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the United States. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Go check them out today. Closing out this Friday episode of Locked On Grizzlies, it is I, Joe Mullinax, joined by my co-host, not leaving the show, at least he better not be, Damichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Again, this season can make a man, rethink some things, if you know what I'm saying, when it comes to watching this team play basketball. No offense to the players that are giving their all in any given game or night.
Yeah, shout out to them.
The Grizzlies have had a season-long, if I recall correctly, 6-game homestand. They wrap it up tonight at home, obviously, in FedEx Forum against the Toronto Raptors. Only one more home game after that, partner, on Monday night against the Cavaliers. We'll talk about that on our next edition of the show. But before that, they play Toronto, a team, with old buddy Coach Darko coming back.
Yeah.
And then they play the Milwaukee Bucks, who are suddenly a fellow tanker on Sunday. That'll be interesting to see who plays in the front end of that back-to-back for the Memphis Grizzlies in Milwaukee, an Easter Sunday game, early start, 2:30 Central for that contest. Damichael, what are you looking at? Again, the Grizzlies have 6 games left in the season, literally 2 of them coming up this weekend. What do you continue to look for as the Grizzlies close out this tanking season and their eyes continue to get bigger and bigger looking at those lottery odds?
Well, what do I look for? I look for the end, Joe. I look for April 12th. That's what
I ain't mad at you for it, man.
But I mean, look, I talked about it, in a couple episodes. But like, one thing to me is you want to prioritize development, but the guys aren't getting developmental minutes. So it's like I don't even know what to make of that. Like, I want to see Cedric Howard playing 35 minutes. I want to see Javon Small playing 35 minutes. They just played 24. The game before that, Gigi Jackson played 18 minutes. I believe the other guys in the starting lineup, like Cam Spencer, played 17 minutes. But Deke Giroux and Tyler Burton and those guys were playing 32, 33 minutes, and they're 10-day contracts. This was a couple games ago, not the last game. So if you want to go back, check me on that. But even in the last game, most of them hovered around 24, 25 minutes or whatever the case may be. So I want to see those guys. I mean, throw them out there. Throw them out there on the floor and let them go. What else do you have to lose?
Cedric Howard against the New York Knicks played 28 minutes.
28 against the Knicks.
That was the leader on the Grizzlies. Nobody played more than him at 28 minutes.
What are we still protecting?
OMP played 25. GG played 25. Javon Small played 25. To your point,
these dudes are young, man.
Adama Ball, who still doesn't have a picture on the
10-day contract. Yeah,
I was an NBA player. He played 23 minutes. Deke Giroux, who I think his picture, and this kudos to Tom Ziller, who pointed this out in his newsletter. Deke Giroux, his picture is still when he was on the Indiana Pacers. I think, he's been with Memphis the last couple of seasons in various spurts. So, still don't have pictures for those guys. Compare that to the Knicks. OG Anunoby played 40 minutes. Mikal Bridges played 36. Jose Alvarado played 32. You had 31 from Landry Shamet. So to your point, those are 4 guys just off the top of the box chart. The box score, that played many more minutes than the guy that you would logically want to see play the most minutes. That's Cedric Howard. Even if you're a GG Jackson truther, he only played 25 minutes, and he looked excellent in those 25 minutes. 4 assists, no turnovers.
Throw Javon Small out there 30-plus minutes.
I mean, I think the answer to Michael, and I know you know this too, I'm just thinking out loud, they're worried that these guys are going to play too well and they might accidentally win.
Go look at the minutes from the game before that and you'll get your answer. I talked about it. But as you go to it, I'll talk a little bit. But yeah, I just think it's very important. I mean, what else do you have to lose? This is the time you throw those guys out there 32, 33 minutes. You only got 6 games left in the season, at this point. So it's not like, we need to manage them, because guess what? After these 6 games, they'll get plenty of rest. Joe, I see you laughing, so you must be looking at it.
And I think I talked about this post game. Now that you mention it, this is my last show that
this was your last show.
Game. Yeah. So GG,
and by the way, this was an 89-89 game early in the fourth quarter.
GG, yes, it was, and I talked about that. How Phoenix just blew the doors off them in the fourth.
Yeah, I wonder
Jackson,
why.
Again, the assist to turnovers not his best, but in fairness to him, that he only played 17 minutes.
All those guys had 14 points. Plus Memphis.
Yeah, Cedric Howard, 24 minutes. Cam Spencer only played 18. Meanwhile, Jemai Meshack, 37 minutes. Burton Giroux, Ball.
We haven't
and
seen
Peyton
any of the
Jr.
Grizzlies stars reach 37 in regulation.
It tells me, Damichael, that they're worried that these guys are going to play too well and they might mess up and win these games.
Yeah, like if Jamal Meshack can play 37 minutes and play the next game, then why can't Gigi do that? Why can't Cedric Howard? I mean, we know the answers, but again, you ask me what do I want to see? I want to see those guys get extended opportunity because at the end of the day, when these 10-day contracts expire, you're not bringing these other players back. It's just the reality. You need to be prioritizing seeing the players who are going to be contributors for your future, or at least have a chance. Like this should be a test trial in a way.
I'm seeing what I want to see is those two players in particular, Cedric Howard and Gigi Jackson, play well, hopefully in extended minutes. I'm with you on that. But the reality at this stage of the season, and you know, we've talked about this, people have yelled at me about this, they got to lose, man. Like we're as we record this podcast, they are tied for the 7th spot.
It's tough. It's rough in there. It's
they
close.
Can get to 6.
Dallas is only one ahead.
Dallas is one game in front. Yes, sir. So that's really the race at this point, is to try to catch Dallas. And again, Dallas is in a different spot because they want Cooper Flagg to be in that Rookie of the Year conversation. So their best players are going to keep playing. They may not play. Again, they can get creative with how they tank around him, but they want Cooper Flagg to have that opportunity to play. So it's a different situation. The Raptors game, I think it's going to take care of itself. Toronto very much still playing for seeding in the Eastern Conference. I don't think that the Grizzlies are going to win that game. And then if you look at the Grizzlies medical report, which I try to avoid at this stage because it's just so sad. But goodness gracious, Damichael. Taj Gibson, who I need Taj Gibson's contract. I need his lawyer. He has foot injury management. I'm not even sure how that's possible. OMP, Olivier Maxence Prosper, low back soreness. He's doubtful against Toronto. And then there's 9 guys out, Damichael. Santi Aldama, KCP, Brandon Clarke, obviously. Zach Edey, Ty Jerome, John Morant, Scottie Pippen Jr. Cam Spencer is out for this game. And then Jalen Wells, as we talked about. So that's 11 dudes that are not going. Almost certainly, there's 9 that aren't going to play. And then there's 2 that probably aren't going to play. I know our wonderful audience comes to us for analysis, and, Damichael does a good job with that. I do all right with that at times. We're ready for this season to be over, man.
They are too, Joe.
They are ready for it to be done. Yep. It's, again, Cedric Howard, Gigi Jackson, that's where my eyes are going to be locked on, especially Cam Spencer out. No disrespect to these other guys. What can Gigi do? What can Cedric Howard do? Hopefully we'll have a couple of good performances to talk about in a couple of losses when we're back here for our Easter Monday edition of Locked On Grizzlies. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube. It is all good. Make sure you're hanging out with Damichael and I each and every time that an episode drops. Again, in our next episode, we'll have multiple games to talk about, the Raptors game, the Bucks game, and we'll also be able to preview the Grizzlies game on Monday against, I believe it is Cleveland, and I do think that is the final home game of the season for the Memphis Grizzlies. Thank goodness. The FedEx Forum crowd, y'all are troopers this season, the way that things have gone. Good for you. You deserve to finish strong. And then the Grizzlies finish on a 3-game roadie, I believe, to close out the 2025-2026 season. Make sure you're hanging out with us each and every time an episode drops, and make sure you're following Damichael at Damichael C. Follow me at Joe Mullinax on X. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Grizzlies ad-free, members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedongrizzlies.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we will be sending you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. For Damichael Cole, I am Joe Mullinax. Have a wonderful weekend. If you celebrate Easter, have a great weekend with family and friends. Check out our episode on Monday. For Damichael, I'm Joe. Stay locked in. Happy Easter, one and all that celebrate. Make sure you're with us the next time an episode drops. Until then, see ya.